My best friend kept joking that I'd never make it as an artist and should get a real job. So I invited him to the opening of my solo exhibition, where his ex bought my most expensive piece and asked for my number. I'm Nate, 28, male, and I've been biting my tongue for so long, I swear I almost forgot how to scream. I always knew being an artist would mean sacrifice. I didn't expect that sacrifice to include my best friend. Or maybe I should say best friend, in heavy, sarcastic air quotes. Darren and I go way back, like backyard basketball, shared Lunchables, dumb teenage pranks back. We were inseparable through high school. He went into finance, I went into fine arts. It was always a little weird, his world full of spreadsheets and client dinners, mine covered in paint stains and brushes, but we made it work until I started getting serious about my art. Darren, 29, male, is the type of guy who needs to win at everything, even conversations. If you told him you were going to Spain, he'd casually mention how he almost bought property there once. You get a compliment? He one-ups it or pivots to himself. He doesn't even realize he does it, I think. He's just built that way, wired to dominate. When I got accepted into a decent MFA program, he patted me on the back and said, "Hey, if it doesn't work out, you've still got time to pivot." The words weren't even cruel on the surface, but the tone? Like I was some kid dreaming big while he was out there playing the real game. Over time, it got worse. Selling any of those weird little canvases yet? Man, must be nice to nap for inspiration. Dude, if I had your free time, I'd be a millionaire. Always jokes. Always with that smug grin, like he was letting me in on some private joke the world was already laughing at. I laughed too at first. I pretended it didn't bother me, but it did. It started to change how I saw my work. I'd stare at a finished piece and hear his voice in my head. Cool, but who's actually buying this? I started second-guessing everything. Spent hours reworking the smallest strokes, not because they were wrong, but because I was scared they weren't enough, that I wasn't enough. Then came the worst one. We were at this dive bar with some of his work friends, guys in slim suits with louder voices than opinions, and he says out loud in front of everyone, "Nate's still chasing the starving artist dream. I keep telling him to get a real job, but hey, someone's got to make coffee shop wall decor, right?" They laughed. Not the kind of laugh where you're in on the joke, the kind where you are the joke. I didn't say anything that night. I just went home, stared at a blank canvas, and thought about quitting. But here's the thing about hitting bottom. Sometimes it's the only place quiet enough to hear your own voice again. I didn't quit. I finished that canvas, then another, and another. And somehow, through the self-doubt and Darren's shitty jokes, I built a body of work I actually felt proud of. So when a gallery in Chicago offered me a solo show, I knew exactly who I was inviting. I sent him a digital invite first, clean, professional, with my name in bold at the top. Solo exhibition, Nathaniel R. I waited exactly 90 minutes before he texted back. "Dude, look at you. That's sick. What, like a group thing? Or your stuff's actually headlining?" I stared at the message for a full minute. Not because I didn't know how to respond, but because I wanted to scream into my fist. My stuff's headlining. It says solo in the title, Darren. But instead, I typed, "Yup, just me. Been working toward this for a while." He replied a minute later, "Hell yeah. I'll be there. Hope they got free booze." Of course, that's what he cared about. Not the art, not the years of sleepless nights, failed concepts, imposter syndrome. Not the fact that I was finally doing something that scared me in the best way possible. Nope, free booze. Still, I smiled. Because what he didn't know, this was more than a show. This was my line in the sand. My proof of life. And I wasn't just inviting him to witness it. I was inviting him to choke on it. Now here's where it gets juicy. Darren brought someone. Not a date. He's been perpetually single since his long-term relationship with Tessa imploded 3 years ago. Tessa, 28, female, was the only woman I ever saw Darren actually try for. She was smart, magnetic, unflinchingly kind, also stunning. Like, every room she walks into stops kind of stunning. They broke up because Darren got bored. His words, not mine, said she was too into charity work and like feelings. He wanted someone more driven. She wanted someone less emotionally constipated. It was a clean break, or so I thought. But now, Tessa was at my show, without Darren. And when I caught her standing in front of my biggest piece, a 6-foot abstract called Threadbare Silence, she was crying. Not a sob, just one hand pressed lightly over her mouth, eyes glossy and full like she'd swallowed the whole damn painting. I didn't interrupt. I let her feel it. Later, after the speeches and the awkward hugs from old classmates and the gallery owner buzzing in my ear about potential collectors, Tessa found me. "I didn't know you could make something like that," she said. "I didn't know anyone would care," I replied. She smiled, tilted her head. "You're wrong about that." We talked. Like, really talked. For the first time in years, I wasn't just Nate who tags along or Nate the weird art friend. I was Nate, the guy who made her feel something real in a crowded room. And Darren? He showed up 30 minutes late, reeking of some over-poured gin cocktail, and made a beeline to me. Bro, this is insane. Like real artists and shit. I didn't know you were, like, legit. Then he saw her, Tessa, standing next to me, sipping wine and laughing at something I said. His face cracked. He didn't say a word, but I watched his whole world tilt sideways behind his smile. And I knew that this night was about to get messy. He tried to play it cool. I give him credit, he really did. Darren sauntered over like his world wasn't collapsing in slow motion, like he hadn't just realized the girl who used to cry over him in my living room was now smiling like she'd finally exhaled, standing next to me. Hey, Tess, he said, voice stretched tight like a rubber band about to snap. Didn't expect to see you here? She barely looked at him. It's Tessa, and I got the invite from Nathaniel. Nathaniel, not Nate, not even Natey, the name Darren used to call me to get a laugh. Tessa said it like it meant something. Darren tried to laugh like this was all some hilarious coincidence. Wow, wild. Small world, huh? Not really, she replied, still looking at me. I follow his work. That's when I saw it, his mask slipping. Just a flicker, the same way he used to look when someone outscored him at pickup basketball, or when I got into art school and he didn't even get waitlisted at NYU Business. A mix of disbelief and entitlement, like the universe had handed someone else the trophy he assumed was his. I offered him a drink. Bar's over there if you're still here for the free booze. Petty? Yeah, but deserved. He mumbled something about checking out the pieces, then wandered off, eyeing every canvas like it had personally betrayed him. Tessa leaned in. He doesn't like being surprised, especially by people he used to underestimate. I couldn't help it. I grinned. Good thing he's got a whole gallery of surprises tonight. The rest of the night passed in this strange, electric tension. Every time I turned a corner, I spotted Darren, lurking by the cheese table, pretending to examine a sculpture, staring just a beat too long when Tessa laughed at something I said. And then the moment that broke him. This couple walks in, mid-30s, dressed like they own 3 espresso machines and at least 1 beach house. The guy had that air of casual money. The woman, radiant. Long black hair, deep burgundy dress, heels sharp enough to cut glass. Tessa froze when she saw them. Oh my God, that's Clara, Darren's ex before me. I blinked. Wait, another ex is here? No, she said, eyes wide. His ex-fiancé. I turned just in time to see Clara make a beeline toward one of my larger mixed media canvases. Echo in red. $12,000 price tag. 1 of 1, and she looked like she wanted to devour it. She asked the gallery rep something. The rep nodded. Clara opened her clutch. I watched Darren walk up just as she was signing the purchase slip. She hadn't seen him yet. He stepped forward, all swagger and bluster. Clara? She turned, stared for a beat too long. Oh, Darren. No warmth. Just cool recognition, like someone who ran into an old coworker at the DMV. You're here for this? He asked, gesturing vaguely around. No, she said, smiling. I'm here for him. Then, without breaking eye contact, she turned to me. I'd love to talk about commissioning something for my home office. And then, because the universe apparently has a savage sense of humor, she added, oh, and Nathaniel, do you mind if I get your number? I swear, I didn't plan it like this. I didn't send the invite to Clara. I hadn't spoken to her in years. We were Instagram mutuals at best. And even then, I figured she muted me ages ago when my posts switched from memes and party pics to close-ups of oil-smeared brushstrokes and time-lapses of me agonizing over shadow work. But there she was, not only buying my most expensive piece of the night, but casually asking for my number, in front of Darren, who looked like someone had just sucker-punched him in the soul. The gallery was packed, but the room around him might as well have gone silent. I caught it in his posture, the slight hunch, the twitch of his jaw, that fake-ass smirk he always wore when he was humiliated but too proud to admit it. Tessa saw it too. She raised her glass in a silent toast to no one. To everyone. Clara handed me her phone without waiting. Just put it in. I'll text you later this week. Darren stepped forward like he was about to object, then hesitated, then retreated, quietly. Which is how I knew it was bad. Darren never does quiet. An hour later, he exploded. It started small, him hovering near the back exit, staring at the sold stickers on the pieces like they were slaps to his face, then muttering something to the gallery assistant, then knocking over a display easel, acting like it was an accident. I kept watching from across the room, letting it simmer. Tessa at my side, Clara now chatting with the gallery owner about custom work. Darren's world was collapsing, and none of it was centered around him. The final crack came when he saw me laughing, really laughing, with Clara and Tessa both standing next to me, wine glasses in hand like we were filming a damn promo for my success. He pushed through the crowd, right up to me. I just think it's funny, he said, loud enough for half the room to hear. Here we go. Funny how you never mentioned Clara before, or Tessa, or this whole, what, art god fantasy you've built? Clara raised her eyebrows. Tessa blinked, confused. Darren wasn't done. I mean, come on, Nate. You've always been the weird one. The guy with the paint under his nails and no plan. I paid your rent twice in college. And now what? This is your revenge tour. People started looking. I stayed calm, sipped my drink. No, Darren. This is my life. You just never cared enough to see it. His voice jumped an octave. You think this makes you better than me? No, I said. I think this makes me free of you. Then he lost it, like full-on meltdown. He knocked a wine glass out of someone's hand, shoved a chair, yelled, "You're all just enabling his delusion," to no one in particular. Security had to escort him out, him, in his navy blazer and loafers, shouting about how I'd manipulated everyone. That was the last time I saw him that night, but it wasn't the last I heard from him. Update 1, did not expect this story to blow up the way it did. First off, thank you for the kind words, support, and brutally funny commentary. Some of y'all had me crying laughing. Special shout out to the person who said, Darren's ego is the only thing more fragile than his wine glass grip. You get me. South, what's happened since the opening? Whew, buckle in. I figured after the whole security dragging him out scene, Darren would ghost for a while, lick his wounds, maybe drunk post some passive-aggressive memes about loyalty and snakes in the grass like he's in a breakup montage. But no, he went DEFCON 1. First came the texts. Long, rambling walls of projection. How I staged the whole night. How I used Clara and Tessa to humiliate him. How I owe him for all the years he supported me. He actually said, and I quote, "You were a nobody until I introduced you to real people." Real people, my guy? Like who? Your coworkers from the hedge fund who think Banksy is a protein shake? Then came the Instagram tantrum. He posted a selfie, looking all disheveled. Captioned it, "Tough times reveal true friends," followed by a carousel of old photos of us from college, with cryptic captions like, "Some people forget who fed them when they were starving." Bruh, you handed me a granola bar once during finals. Calm down. Then, get this, he called my mom. He actually called my mom. Tried to spin this narrative about how I'd changed, how the art world got to my head, and how he was just worried I was spiraling. Thank God my mom knows what's up. She told him, word for word, "Nate's not spiraling, Darren. He's just finally walking without you holding the leash." That woman, I swear, legend. Anyway, after that failed PR campaign, he tried the nuclear option, guilt by group chat. He pulled together a group of our old college friends, most of whom I haven't seen in years, and sent this novella-length message about how he's concerned I'm letting fame change me, and that I've surrounded myself with people who don't know the real Nate. You want to know how that went? Half of them left the chat within an hour. The other half sent me screenshots and told him to take a nap. So yeah, Darren's spiral has been dramatic. Meanwhile, on the brighter side, Clara and I have been texting. Nothing crazy, just normal, easy. She sent me a picture of Echo in red in her living room, and it made me tear up a little, not gonna lie. It's wild seeing something I made, something born out of so much insecurity, hanging in a space filled with warmth. And Tessa? She reached out the next day and asked if I wanted to grab coffee. No pressure, just two people reconnecting. I said yes, because for the first time in a long time, I'm not shrinking in someone else's shadow. So, the coffee with Tessa? It turned into dinner. And then dinner turned into one of those long, late-night conversations that leaves you walking home at 1 a.m., grinning like an idiot, and wondering if the grounds always felt this soft. We didn't kiss. Not then. But something cracked open. Something that felt like possibility. Like warmth I hadn't let myself feel in years. Tessa told me she never really got over how things ended with Darren, but not in the way he probably thinks. He made me feel small, she said, like I was supposed to be grateful just to orbit him. She said being at the show, my show, was the first time in forever she'd felt proud to know someone again, and that she saw in me what Darren always tried to bury under sarcasm. You believe in something, she whispered, and that terrifies guys like him. That should have been the end of it. But Darren doesn't do endings. He does tantrums with plot arcs. 2 nights later, I woke up to a sound outside my apartment window. I live on the 2nd floor, so I figured it was a raccoon messing with the trash bins. Nope. It was Darren, drunk, on my fire escape, in the rain. I opened the window and just stared at him, stunned. The man was drenched, wearing what looked like that same navy blazer from the gallery show, only now it was crumpled and stained. "What the hell, Darren?" He swayed. "You think you're better than me now? Are you serious?" "I made you, Nate," his voice cracked. "You were nothing without me." I didn't respond, just stared. The silence hung heavy. He looked wrecked, not just soaked but hollowed out, like whatever fake armor he'd been wearing finally rusted through and left the scared kid underneath exposed. "I gave you years," he slurred. "You owe me, man." "I owe you nothing," I said quietly. "You just hate that the punchline got the last laugh." He blinked at me like he didn't get it. Then his expression changed, turned mean. She's just using you, you know. Tessa, she pities you. I didn't flinch. Go home, Darren. He didn't move. I had to call the cops. I hated it, but he wouldn't leave. Just sat there soaked and muttering to himself until the cruiser pulled up and they talked him down the ladder. They didn't arrest him, but they warned him. And I made sure they knew to mark my address. That should have been the rock bottom, the low point. But Darren had one more meltdown in him, because 3 days later I got a call from the gallery owner. Someone had broken in, and they didn't steal anything, they vandalized it. Red spray paint across 2 of my unsold pieces. One said, in shaky all caps, fake art for fake friends. And the other, scrawled in a bitter, spiteful loop, real jobs make real men. I knew, instantly. No proof, not yet, but I knew. Darren had crossed a line even he wouldn't be able to charm his way back from, so I did something I hadn't done in years. I painted, all night, one canvas, one message, and I knew exactly where it was going. I called it Extinction. 6 feet tall, stark black and deep rust red, all textured like scorched earth. At the center, a suit and tie, faceless and unraveling, made entirely of torn stock certificates and fake dollar bills I printed and aged myself. I burned the edges with a lighter. The whole thing looked like it was collapsing into ash. And right over the heart of the figure, in white oil paint, I am not your legacy. The gallery owner, Sam, 41, male, didn't even flinch when I told him I wanted to hang it where the vandalized pieces used to be. In fact, he offered to host a new event around it. Said the community needed to see how artists respond to cruelty. Word spread fast. Tessa helped promote it on social. Clara reposted it. A couple local journalists reached out. I didn't say Darren's name. I didn't have to. The story was clear. Someone tried to erase me. I painted it back stronger. Opening night of the new showing felt different. The first show had been about arrival. This one, it was about defiance. And guess who showed up? Yup, Darren. He came in through the back, thinking no one would notice. But when his eyes hit the painting, his painting, he froze. I was across the room, but I watched it all. Tessa noticed him first. She didn't say a word, just took my hand. Clara? She made eye contact with him, smiled sweetly and turned away. Sam, God bless him, walked straight over and said, nice of you to stop by. Try not to leave anything behind this time. Darren left 10 minutes later. Didn't speak, didn't touch a thing. And then, 2 days later, I got the message. A long, pathetic apology text. He said he was in a dark place, that he didn't know how much resentment had built up, that he felt abandoned watching people admire me when he'd spent years watching me flail. He ended it with, you were supposed to need me, Nate, and when you didn't, I lost it. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because that message, that was it. That was the revenge. Not the art, not the gallery, not even the humiliation. It was this. He needed me to fail to feel important, and I didn't. I didn't fail. He lost his power the moment I stopped trying to prove anything to him. Tessa and I are taking things slow. Clara's introducing me to a collector who wants a full commission series. My inbox is filled with actual opportunities. People seeing me for what I am, not what Darren always tried to shrink me into. And Darren? He's quiet now. No group chats, no drunk texts, no more crashing my life like it's his to narrate, because his story ended the moment mine finally began. Update 2. Yep, because nothing screams, I'm totally over it. Like shipping your ex-best friend's mother an unsolicited abstract rage spiral on a canvas. Let me back up. It's been a quiet few weeks. Gallery sales have been steady. I finished 2 commissions, started something new with more color than I've used in years, and Tessa and I have been good, real good. She's been coming to my studio after work sometimes, just sitting with a book while I paint. No pressure, just presence. Darren was gone, or so I thought. Then my mom called. Not the usual check-in. Her voice was tight, weird. Did you send me artwork? What? Number Y. There's a box here, big. No return address, just this. She sent a photo. It was a painting, sort of. All dark scribbles, jagged brushstrokes, and swear to God, torn shreds of old photos layered into it. I recognized one. A photo from college. Me and Darren at some party. Both of us drunk and grinning. Burned. Literally burned into the canvas. At the bottom, in dried red acrylic, ask him what he sacrificed to make it. Chills. Actual chills. My mom was freaked out. She wanted to know if she should be worried. I told her to toss it, burn it, salt the ashes. I was done with giving this guy air. But then I looked closer at that line. Ask him what he sacrificed to make it. And I realized what this actually was. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't revenge. It was grief. Darren had lost, not just the friendship, or the spotlight, or the illusion of superiority. He'd lost his version of our story. The one where I was the sidekick, the cautionary tale, the lovable failure he kept around to feel big. He never imagined I'd become the main character of my own life. And when I did, he unraveled. So, yeah, I told my mom to throw it away, and I blocked his number. Again. But part of me doesn't hate him. Not really. I hate what he tried to do. I hate that he made me question myself for so long. But I don't hate him, because hate's a weight I don't need anymore. I've got paint to mix. I've got stories to tell. I've got people around me who see me as I am. Not as a punchline, not as a backup singer, but as enough. Darren's painting? It didn't break me. It reminded me that even shadows can't exist without light, and I've never been brighter. 3 weeks later, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, then another, and another. Finally, I picked up on the fourth ring, mostly out of curiosity. It was Clara, and she sounded shaken. Hey, so I wasn't sure if I should tell you, but Darren showed up. What do you mean, showed up? At my office. He waited outside for 2 hours until security made him leave, said he wanted to talk about your mental state and warn me. I felt my whole body go cold. What did he say? That you're unstable, that your art is a cry for help. He kept saying you were spiraling and trying to suck everyone down with you. He even brought a printout of your painting, Extinction, and said it was proof you're obsessed with destroying him. I didn't even speak. I just sat there, listening, jaw locked tight. Clara, I'm so sorry, I didn't think— Don't. This isn't on you. He's unwell. That much is clear. But I thought you should know, and I already talked to building security, by the way. He's banned from the premises now. After we hung up, I just sat in my studio for a long time, hands twitching, mind racing. Not because I was scared, but because I knew this wasn't about me anymore. Darren wasn't just trying to hurt me. He was trying to rewrite the narrative, to pull everyone who'd once loved him back into orbit, using whatever twisted lies he could invent. He couldn't handle the truth. That I moved on. That they moved on. That nobody was buying his story anymore, literally or metaphorically. So I did what I always do when the chaos gets too loud. I painted. But this one was different. This one wasn't for the gallery, or a collector, or even for me. I painted it for Tessa. It was called Gravity. Just two figures, one fading, brittle, made of fractured mirrors, the other rooted in deep, bleeding color, surrounded by a constellation of small golden brush strokes, each one shaped like something small but solid. Keys, hands, a heart. I didn't tell her I was painting it. I didn't post it online. I didn't even sign it. I just invited her over. When she stepped inside and saw it, she stopped. She didn't speak for a long time. And then she said, "You didn't paint him as a monster." "No," I replied. "Because he's not." She looked at me. "He's just someone who forgot how to be human." She reached out and touched the canvas, right where the red met the gold. And I swear, for a second, we were both just breathing in the same stillness. That night, for the first time, she stayed. Not in a "we're dating now" way, in a "we're finally safe here" way. And for once, the silence felt full instead of empty. Last one. I didn't think I'd write this part. Honestly, I thought the story ended the night Tessa stayed over, when we just lay there side by side in the quiet, not touching, not talking much, just existing in this weird peace after all the noise Darren had thrown at our lives. But there was one more moment, and it changed something. 2 weeks later, I got a package. No name, no return address, just my name, handwritten in a way I instantly recognized. Stiff, overly neat, trying too hard to seem calm. Inside was a small canvas, just 8 by 10, no frame. One color, gray, just flat, wet, lifeless gray, and scratched into the bottom corner with what looked like a key or a nail. "I disappear better than you." That was it. No note, no explanation, just that. And I laughed. I didn't mean to. It came out of me sharp and sudden like a cough, then louder, until I was sitting on the floor of my studio, laughing like I was high or losing my mind. Because this pathetic little canvas was supposed to be Darren's final blow, his mic drop, his poisoned letter. But it wasn't power. It was surrender. He wasn't trying to haunt me anymore. He was begging me to still see him, and I didn't. I took the canvas outside, walked it 3 blocks down to a public community art wall where anyone could hang stuff. I left it there. No explanation, no signature. Let someone else decide what it meant. Let it become background noise, just another forgotten echo in a city full of stories louder than his. And then I went home, pulled out a blank canvas, and started again. This new one, it's not about Darren, not about pain or rivalry or shadows. It's about a woman who kept showing up, even when I wasn't sure I deserved it. It's about a man learning to live in his own light. It's called Resurface. I haven't told Tessa yet, but I'm painting her hands in it. One open, one holding mine. And because for the first time in my life, I'm not painting to prove anything. I'm painting because I'm whole. And Darren? He's not part of the story anymore. He's just a footnote. And I've got too many chapters ahead to waste another brushstroke on ghosts.